Welcome or welcome back to another weekly update. I am so excited for this week. I feel like I might say that every single week, but I really feel like whatever I'm going through in life is what I'm meant to share on these updates. And then I look at the transits and I'm like, oh yeah, that's why all this is happening right now. Like, duh. So we have had Venus on the South Node. Um, And I forgot to change the thumbnail, I'm realizing, on the live stream. I'm supposed to see, I have had friends asking me if it's Mercury retrograde because the energy is very similar to that. But what it actually is, I feel like, is Venus on the South Node. And then Venus is in mutual reception with Mercury and Libra, which has been challenging Jupiter and opposite Chiron. So it's kind of giving that similar energy. I'm changing the thumbnail right now. I'm gonna have to change some of this other stuff after the live. We have a full moon this week in Aries. It is Monday night. What else do we have? We have Mercury moving into Scorpio on Monday. We're going to have a T-square between Mercury, Pluto, and the moon in Taurus on Wednesday, I believe. Mercury squaring Pluto is going to be a pretty big one. Whatever came up with the Mars square to Pluto we just had about week or two ago. Mercury square Pluto is going to be a revisitation of that, but really based on our mindset, like a mental revisitation. This has been showing up for me in terms of, I just posted a video to my YouTube this morning that I filmed yesterday about how this has all been showing up for me, and I went more into detail. It's really been a lot of me having to look at my mindset around certain things and what needs to go. Venus on the South Node in a Mercury ruled sign. What needs to go? What do we need to let go of? At the risk of sounding redundant, what do we need to let go of? Within our mindset, what is outdated? What do we no longer want? Even if we don't have clarity, this has also been a big thing coming up that I've been talking about a lot in my business course and all my social medias, is if you don't have clarity right now, focus on what you want to feel. What do you want to feel in your life moving forward? Chances are how you have been feeling or something about your life has not been working. So what do you want instead? It's only through experiencing what we don't want that we realize what we do. And that's the energy we're in right now, is pivoting into what we do want. Full moons are times of release, so we can have a culmination and manifestation of what we have been creating in that area of life that the full moon is taking place. So it's in Aries. Where do you have Aries in your birth chart? I'll be doing a full moon workshop in my Inner Circle membership tomorrow for the full moon in Aries. But look to where it is in your birth chart, because that's the area of life that really, there's potential for a manifestation there. There's potential for this kind of culmination of a certain energy. A lot of us have been stepping into a new sense of self, a new identity, doing a lot of healing around that. A lot about you has changed. And we are realizing what else needs to kind of be cleaned up. So we can fully step into the new. So we can fully step into like the new us, the new sense of self, the new identity that is aligned with everything that we want in the ways that we want it. That what hasn't been working has shown us we need to do differently, or want to do differently, to have a different experience. So that's really kind of the energy of this week, is like what needs to shift within your mindset in order to recalibrate some things. What did you release over the weekend, or what was shown to you that's not going to work out over the weekend that you will be brought more clarity around your next steps as we progress this week? I really don't think now is the time to be making major decisions about stuff. I think we're still kind of being breadcrumbed with clarity. I again think that the rest of this year is going to continue to be that kind of energy of a recalibration. So the start of next year really is like this full embodied, integrated new chapter. So, yeah, I got off on a tangent there, but I was saying that I don't think now is the time to be making major decisions. I think we're going to get clarity come the end of this week, because of what the moon will be doing, and because as we get closer to the end of the year as well, and Saturn continues to retrograde through Pisces and Jupiter continues to move through Cancer, they are going to harmonize with each other. And I think that's kind of going to be this culmination of, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm moving forward. I fine-tuned, I recalibrated what I needed to, and now I know what to do. Now I know how to move forward. So I really think as this month progresses, I think October is really kind of like, okay, what needs to change? We get to the middle of October and it's like, okay, now I have the full clarity. I'm going to like do this and go in this direction. And then it's kind of like, you know, doing all the things to make that happen. Does that make sense? So that's what October feels like to me. I think come middle of October and onward, it's going to be a lot better and a lot more clear of like what we're doing and how we're moving forward, with all of these changes that we have been making in our lives. So that's the overall kind of energy of this week and then leading into the rest of the month. Let me see if y'all have any questions in the comments. Okay, I don't see any comments. So I'm going to go into the horoscopes. Okay, is it showing? Okay. Aries Rising, we start the week off the moon in your first house. The full moon is taking place in your first house. So this is a culmination of some identity shift, of some rebirth related to you, your identity, your sense of self, your appearance, maybe just really how you present yourself to the world as well. As we get into the rest of the week on Tuesday, there could be more around that comes up. There might be something that kind of triggers you as well on Tuesday, as the moon is going to move over Chiron in your first house. This could be a literal wound related to your identity, related to your appearance, your sense of self in some way, maybe also related to what's going on in your home, that has felt kind of challenging and like it is adding a little bit of conflict to what's going on with you. As we get into Wednesday, early on Wednesday, the moon is going to move into Taurus, into your second house. It's going to challenge Pluto in your 11th and challenge Mercury in your 8th. There could be something around money coming up, and maybe this realization of like, okay, how I've been making money hasn't been working for me. And focusing on like what you want to do that's related to your vision of how you want to feel moving forward. An example of this would be if you've been doing something to make money and you just really hate it, you're realizing like, oh, okay, I really need to do what feels fun to me to make money instead of doing this because I think it's going to make money. Like, no, that's never really going to work long term. What's going to work is focusing on your joy and your passion and what you want to share and create with the world, and allowing that to be the thing that makes you money. And I think this realization is going to come through some challenges or conflict early on Wednesday around that. Later on Wednesday, the moon's going to be opposite Mars, so you might be kind of triggered into action around whatever that is, but it also might feel like you really have to step outside of your comfort zone, in order to see this come to fruition in the way that is going to be beneficial for you. As we get into Thursday, the moon is harmonizing with Venus in your 6th house. So this is really I think after that realization comes, there's going to be the momentum to take action on it. The drive is going to be there to really do and move forward with whatever you realized you want to change. And then that furthers as we get into Friday, because later on Thursday and into Friday, the moon's going to move over Uranus in your 3rd house. There could be this kind of sudden realization around all of that and this forward momentum towards kind of maybe realigning your schedule or changing things about your day to day in order to kind of support these changes that you're making and what you're taking action on. We also have Venus opposite Saturn Friday and Saturday. in your 6th and 12th houses. So there might also be some realizations around like something that's not working in your routine, or what you're doing to take care of yourself. And there might also be this need to come back to some sort of practice that grounds you and that helps you really stay centered through all of these changes. Then as we get into Saturday, later on Saturday, there could be something emotionally frustrating about that, like your structures, your systems that you have in place to center and ground yourself. Maybe as it relates to your routine, it could kind of feel a little bit chaotic, and like you're maybe challenged to, again, make changes to your schedule or your daily life in a way that's gonna keep you grounded despite all the chaos, the challenges, and the changes. It's like, okay, what do I need to do? How can I take control of the situation? And maybe there's a mindset shift that's needed as well to kind of see things differently in order to have what you want moving forward. Later in the weekend, though, Saturday into Sunday, and for Sunday, you're going to be really focused on your home. Again, I think the clarity has come, like as this week has progressed, and you're like, okay, now I know what to do. I know how to move forward, and all the pieces are kind of there to be taking action on it. So that's the week ahead for you, Aries. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Taurus Rising, we start the week off on Monday with the moon in your 12th house. It's where the full moon is going to be. This could be an illumination of something maybe that was previously hidden in your life, or about your mindset, your subconscious beliefs, things like that could come up at this time to kind of change, especially on Tuesday as we have the moon moving over Chiron. There could be some wound or trigger that's brought up that you're like, oh, I didn't realize like I was still believing this about myself or seeing myself this way, that kind of thing. It's coming up for you to change it. It could also come at conflict with like something you are doing in your day-to-day to take care of and nurture and support yourself, or maybe you're realizing there was a habit you had that you don't want to keep doing or keep in your routine. There could also be on Tuesday some challenges between your relationships, your career, and into Wednesday, like what's going on with you. There could be just a conversation you need to have, but you might kind of be triggered. So it might be best to like, take some space before you have this conversation, or like if you find yourself getting heated in it, just like saying you need space, that kind of thing. Yeah, you know what you need, so just trust. Trust in your intuition, and like, pick your battles on Tuesday and into Wednesday. Um, Early on Wednesday, it could be some emotional tension. Again, like I said, between you, your relationships, and what's going on in your career. But it does feel like the release of that is through your home in some way. Maybe throwing a dance party for yourself to just kind of move the energy and not let it like, uh, what is the phrase I'm looking for? Like come out of you in a very tumultuous, like explosive way. Especially later on Wednesday, as the moon is going to be opposite Mars, just adding some tension to your relationships. There could be this like push and pull between your relationships and you. There might be something you have to do or change that maybe forcing you really outside of your comfort zone as well, related to all of that. Then as we get into Thursday, the moon's going to harmonize with Venus in your 5th house. Again, the release of that energy, you could have found like, okay, I really need to just start incorporating dance every single day and like listening to music that makes me feel good, so I don't get these pent up things that they like burst out of me. Does that make sense? Because also Venus is opposite Saturn in your 11th house. There's something you really need to like commit yourself to as it relates to a spiritual practice that helps ground you. And there's a lot of realizations around that Thursday into Friday. There could be a big emotional shift or breakthrough early on Friday, as well as the moon moves into Gemini in your 2nd house over Uranus. Maybe related to what's going on with your money or with your career in some way also. I mean, it feels like there's something you're going to realize you want to do and take action on, and maybe related to like what has come up earlier in the week and what has been coming up for you. Maybe you are bringing it into your career in some way, or pivoting what you're doing in your career to align with this. As we get into the weekend on Saturday, the moon's going to challenge Saturn in your 11th house. So there could be something maybe also with money that comes up that's like, okay, I thought I wanted to do this. Now I realize like this is actually how I want to go about it. You might have like helpful people in your life that are helping you to come to these realizations as well. Because it does feel like there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of conflict between your money, your creativity, your children, or what's going on with your romance, dating, as well as like your community, your friendships, your long-term goals. But the release of that is through, I feel like you're going to be called inward in some way, like on like to go to a retreat or take a trip to a hot springs, or like I don't know, I feel like you could be called to go on this like last minute spontaneous trip over the weekend to just like clear your head and get away from maybe the chaos, and just kind of see things from a different perspective. Then as we get into Sunday, I do feel like there's going to be this emotional release, maybe again, like I said, tied to a conversation you have with somebody in your life that really supports you during all of this challenge, this conflict. And it really is about like focusing on what you have in your life that supports you, that helps you through these changes and through this transformation. Um, and I feel like that you'll have a lot of that over the weekend to help you with all of this. Does that make sense? Let me know how that resonates in the comments, Taurus, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Gemini Rising, we start the week off on Monday with a full moon in Aries in your 11th house. You could get clarity with this full moon around your long-term goals, your long-term visions, maybe a new project you're starting on, or something that is new that feels aligned with what you want to do and how you want to feel moving forward in your work life, your career, with your goals, your vision for yourself and your life moving forward. There could be, though, some friction between like your schedule or your work and maybe what's going on in your belief systems or long distance travel. There is a lot of breakthroughs coming, but there is also this like struggle or this conflict in another way that's coming up for you. But I do feel like this clarity is going to give you a lot of relief, because there might have been a lot of like mm, lack of clarity in what you're doing, and the full moon is bringing you like a aha of like, okay, this is how I'm going to move forward, this is how I'm going to do this. On Tuesday, there could be something that maybe triggers you about community or about your long-term goals and visions, maybe like a kind of inner identity crisis, of how you're seeing yourself and how you're viewing yourself, maybe a realization around all of that and how to further embody what you're stepping into. um, I feel like there's something else major happening on Tuesday, but it's slipping my mind right now. We do have later on Tuesday the moon moving into Taurus. It's going to be opposite Mercury in Scorpio, and then they're both going to challenge Pluto in your ninth house. So again, this could really have you look at your belief systems related to all that's coming up, and to do this kind of like subconscious um, recalibration in order to feel grounded or feel rooted in these changes, and like not block yourself um, from them coming to fruition in a way that's going to feel good for you. Does that make sense? Then, as we get into Wednesday, the moon's going to be opposite Mars in your sixth house. This could be some emotional tension between like your spiritual practices and what's going on in your day to day, your schedule, or your work. It could feel like you're pulled in two different directions, and you have to kind of maybe make some changes that are uncomfortable but are going to benefit you in the long run. Then later on Thursday, there could be a breakthrough related to like what's going on in your home, what's going on in your mindset about everything that's coming up and everything that's changing for you, as the moon is going to harmonize with Venus in your fourth house. It's also going to be opposite Saturn in your 10th. So it could feel like what you want to do in your career, or what you're needing to like be disciplined with in your career, or how you're needing to ground yourself to have this new beginning. Kind of feels at odds with what's going on in your home life or your home situation. But I do feel like there's going to be, like I said, this inner shift, this subconscious shift of kind of how to support yourself through it and not get caught up in the conflict or the challenges. There could be a breakthrough around that on later on Thursday and into Friday, as the moon's going to move over Uranus, in your first house. There could be this kind of like emotional renewal and this aha moment of like, oh, I just needed to change this about how I'm viewing myself and how I'm viewing life. And that kind of brings everything together. Like the puzzle pieces suddenly become clear and you know where they all fit, kind of thing. There could be something that positive that happens in your dating, your romantic life, or just with your creative passions in general that also supports this change in your sense of self. Could come through somebody in your life, like somebody just dropping like some wisdom, and you're like, oh, that's exactly what I needed to hear to like click everything into place and to move forward on all of these things. As we get into the weekend on Saturday, the moon's going to challenge Saturn in your 10th. So there could be emotional challenges between you and these shifts you're making in your identity and what's going on in your career. Also, what's going on in your home. It just feels like there's kind of like a lot of emotional challenge and conflict between those areas. But again, the focus is really on the people you have around you and maybe leaning on the support of the people around you for wisdom or for advice or just to vent if you need it. As we get into later on Saturday and into Sunday, the moon's going to move into Cancer in your second house. Then on Sunday, it's going to harmonize with Mercury and Mars in your sixth. So there could be this kind of emotional clarity and reprieve around money, around what's going on in your work and what changes you're making there. It kind of feels like you really have to honor what you feel and what you want to feel and move more and more towards what you want to feel instead of like what has been challenging and what has been frustrating. Does that make sense? So that's what we got for you, Gemini. Let me know how that resonates, and I will see you next week. All right, Cancer Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 10th house. That's where the full moon's going to be for you. There could be some realizations or manifestations related to your image, your public reputation, your career in some way. Maybe something that's been building over the last 6 months could come to fruition. We also have Mercury moving into your 5th house on Monday. So there could be this mental focus and shift on your creative passions and projects. But it might feel like at odds with some inner transformation that's happening for you or some spiritual awakening that's happening for you. Maybe they're related to each other, but at first it kind of feels like challenging. And then you get this aha moment of like how you need to just see the situation differently or think about it differently. And then it shifts your creative inspiration. Does that make sense? As we get into Tuesday, the moon moves over Chiron in your 10th house. There could be an emotional wound or trigger that comes up around your reputation or how you're choosing to be seen to the world and to the public. There could be something that triggers something about your identity that comes up around that for you to really shift and evolve and grow through that trigger so that it doesn't keep resurfacing. Tuesday into Wednesday, the moon moves into Taurus. It's going to be opposite Mercury in your 5th, and they're both challenging Pluto in your 8th. So this kind of feels like maybe you need to do something fun to make money, or you're realizing you need to like really just pursue your passions and pursue what brings you the utmost feeling of joy and fun in order to make money, because everything else has felt maybe kind of challenging up until this point, and there's this momentum or catalyst to shift it. Especially on Wednesday, as the moon is going to be opposite Mars in your 5th house, there could be this need to get out of your comfort zone as it relates to that. Like if you want to start an Etsy shop and you're like, okay, well, how do I sell things? Like I have to market this. Like then you have to start showing up on social media. Like it's kind of that energy of there's something you have to do to get out of your comfort zone to make this happen in the way that you realize you want. As we get into Thursday, the moon's going to harmonize with Venus and Virgo in your 3rd. There could be a helpful conversation you have with somebody in your life that kind of brings you the breakthroughs you need around this and how to maybe shift your mindset around it to see it differently as well. There could be kind of subconscious shift that's supported around that on Thursday into Friday, as the moon is going to move over Uranus in your 12th house and harmonize with Pluto. This is the energy, like as we get into Friday, it's really the energy of big breakthroughs in our mindset and suddenly kind of having the clarity we've maybe been like trying to create. And it's suddenly just kind of like there out of nowhere. As we get into Friday and into Saturday, the moon is going to harmonize with the sun in your 4th house. There could be some breakthroughs maybe related to your home or your family around everything that's been coming up. But on Saturday, there is going to be this challenging energy between your emotional inner world and what's going on in your belief systems, or maybe related to long distance travel. Again, there's all these kind of like mental breakthroughs the end of the week for you, Cancer. and you're kind of like piecing them all together as we get into the weekend. But I do feel like Saturday into Sunday, there's going to be this emotional renewal related to all of that as the moon moves into your first house late on Saturday and then continues into Sunday. Um, and then we're gonna have, then we're gonna have the first quarter moon early next week. And I think again, it's like, okay, I have all the pieces, ducks in a row. Now it's go time. So that's the week ahead for you, Cancer. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Leo Rising, we start the week off the moon in your ninth house where the full moon is going to be. There could be this culmination of like what's changing in your belief systems, what's changing about your perspective of life, or like how you're viewing the world around you. There's this culmination of like, oh, like this was available for me to see everything this way the whole time, and now I'm realizing that I need to, or something around that. Like your perspective of life is healing, and maybe it's because like your circumstances have changed, but then you're realizing like, oh, I was in control of how I felt about everything the whole time, and I could have chosen to see things differently, and that would have changed like how I experience things. As we get into Tuesday into Wednesday, there could be a breakthrough related to that in your career. Maybe there's like an identity shift that happens because of that. But things do feel challenging between your home, your career, and your relationships. The focus is kind of on you and on what you can do to maybe not focus on the conflict or get dragged down by the challenges, and really ask yourself, okay, what do I need to feel joy? What do I need to feel fun? It also feels like whatever challenges come up, they are going to help you grow into a better version of yourself, and maybe embrace like a new identity. Um, that continues into Thursday as the moon is really in your area of career. But it is going to be opposite Mars in your fourth house. So there could be some emotional tension between what's going on in your living situation or with family and what's going on in your career. That you might be called to really get out of your comfort zone as it relates to what's coming up around that in order to have a shift with it and relieve any tension from it. Later on Thursday, the moon is going to harmonize with Venus in your second house. This could be good for like maybe you start a new job and you get your first paycheck kind of thing. It's kind of like this emotional support for money coming in through what's going on in your career. As we get into Friday, the moon is going to move over Uranus in your 11th house, harmonizing with Pluto in your 7th. There could be a shift around your community, your friend groups, your relationships, maybe related to like your vision of your life and what you want for your future. There's this kind of like aha moment of, again, related to what's going on in your perspective of life and like how you're choosing to see things differently. There's this big clarity that comes around all that and kind of culminates Thursday into Friday. And then as we get into the weekend, the moon is going to harmonize with the sun in your third house. This could be a good day to socialize Friday, Saturday, to just kind of get out and just be supported by the people around you and maybe like meet some new people to kind of help bring everything together. Um, and I feel like that's vague, but let me know how that shows up for you over this weekend because it feels important. And then there could be some friction or challenges Saturday night actually, between what's going on with that and your long-term goals, community, and your money. Also maybe in your resources or something, but it feels like the release of that is maybe you meet somebody like romantically and go on you have some type of really fun date or fun adventure with them, or this could be like you're channeling everything that's been frustrating for you into creativity in some way, or like choosing to put on a good playlist and dance and not get again bogged down by the challenges. Big energy this whole week is focus on what is fun, focus on what is joyful, focus on the positive, instead of getting swept up by the challenges and the conflict. So that's the week ahead for you, Leo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Virgo Rising, we start the week off on Monday with the full moon in your 8th house. This is going to bring about culmination or manifestation of some shift within your inner sense of security and receiving that security externally as well. There could be this big aha moment around money, or around like what you're doing with money. There could also be the energy of like doing your taxes and it being like easier than you thought it was going to be, and like there's some shift or like aha moment of like, oh, um that's this is it's how do I say that, like it was better than I thought it could be. I don't even know if that makes sense, but there's this energy of having a shift around your resources in some way, and this big aha moment that's supported Monday. Again, it's a mindset thing, because you've been healing your mindset and how you're viewing resources, money, being supported. And so there's a culmination of a mindset shift that happens for you on Monday with this full moon, especially as Mercury is going to move into Scorpio in your third house and challenge Pluto in your sixth. It could be related to work in some way of like, oh, I just had to view it like this this whole time. I just had to like focus on the energy of what I want and not let my thoughts like run the show. There could be something later on Tuesday around that is emotionally healing for you as well. Maybe related to like, again, what these mindset shifts are specifically that are coming up for you, and really choosing to see them differently and doing the work to change them. As we get into Wednesday, the moon's going to be opposite Mercury, and both are squaring Pluto. So this again could be that subconscious level shift around what's going on for you and your resources and feeling supported. But there could also be some tension and some challenges between like where you're going on a daily basis, what you're doing for work, and your mindset. There could just be the need to restructure your time or see things a little differently, and use, how do I say that? Like, things could feel really challenging in like what you're doing, where you're going, who you're talking to. And there's this need to be like, okay, I need to be more diligent. I need to be more discerning with where I'm going, who I'm talking to, and what I'm doing, how much time I'm spending on all those things. Is kind of this energy, is how it feels. And then as we get into Thursday, it feels like there's this kind of tug of war between, again, where you need to go, who you need to talk to, what you need to do on a daily basis, and then also like, again, maybe like you've been wasting time on something that you're realizing isn't something you want to be doing moving forward. And so it's like it's a comfortable habit, and you're like, okay, it's actually detrimental to me and what I'm trying to do, so I need to stop doing that and like actually be more intentional with the time that I was spending doing that and putting it towards something that's more beneficial and something that actually brings me more joy than just like numbing out. That's the energy. That's very specific. Let me know how that resonates, because I feel like that was super specific. As we get into Friday, there could be some big breakthrough or shift around that, and like what you're doing for work and your career and how you're making money. It's this culmination of everything that's been changing and like how to make the most of it or how to move forward with it. Also, Venus is starting to oppose Saturn in your seventh house. So there's this big shift happening, but also this tug of war energy between you, what's changing about you, your sense of self, your identity, and like your relationships, and maybe your commitments with relationships, as kind of putting this tension on like how you're changing or vice versa. But I do feel like I said, there's going to be this big aha moment and emotional kind of shift around all of that, and what to do about it as we get into the weekend, especially on Saturday, as the moon is going to harmonize with the sun. There could be a lot of forward momentum in your money and what you're doing for your career, because you literally freed up your energy for this shift. Maybe it was like you were still saying yes to doing things that didn't feel good to you, even though like money was coming in, and you're like, I can't do anything that doesn't feel good anymore. And it frees up space for something actually more aligned to come in. But also on Saturday is the culmination of that Venus Saturn energy. So there could be some tension between you and your relationships that maybe propels you into the realization of change. This is a very, Saturday morning is a very interesting combination of transits going on. There could also be, as we get later into Saturday, like some challenges between what's going on emotionally in your career and you. Again, it's like you can't keep doing what feels frustrating, even if it's like small small little feelings of frustration or annoyance, like you have to take it off your plate so you can have space for things that really feel good, and you just create more of that and have a better life because of it, and really step into this new version of yourself that's culminating. Sunday could be a little spacey, a little foggy around that, but then I do feel like later on Sunday, like that's early Sunday morning, later on Sunday, there could be this aha moment, this epiphany, this clarity of like, okay, this is actually what I'm doing. And it's related to, again, focusing on how you want to feel moving forward. So that's what I have for you, Virgo, for the week ahead. Let me know how it resonates. I feel like that was really specific. And I'll see you next week. Okay, Libra Rising. We start the week off with a full moon in your seventh house. There could be some realization for you at the start of this week about relationships, and how to move forward with them, and just getting more clarity on like what types of people you want to have around you versus what ones you do not. Especially on Tuesday, there could be some kind of wound or trigger that comes up around that, and you're realizing like, okay, I set this, I set this standard for myself. I have to honor it. This isn't honoring it, so I need to let it go. I need to release it. But it could come at the cost of like an emotional trigger. Like it could really trigger you, and then that kind of propels you into this realization of like, oh, I need to like let this go. I need to shift this because this is not what I want. This is not aligned with the vision I have for my relationships and what I want there moving forward. Mercury is in your second house now. There's a mental focus on money, but that could kind of come at a challenge to your creativity, or you could be really conflicted between what's going on for you creatively and your mindset around money, and it's propelling you into a change, into an evolution, to shift your mindset around all of those things and realize that you do have the power, you do have the control over what's going on, even if you haven't realized that you do, or even if you don't realize that you do. Like there is this, you just have to come at it with determination of like, this is what is going to happen, and it doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter when, this is what's going to happen. Like I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to pay what I want to pay for it, or I'm going to do this thing and it's going to bring in the money that I want for it. Like it's you realizing you need to have this like rock solid determination around it. And that might on Wednesday feel like it's really challenging you emotionally into a kind of a forced pressurized transformation around your inner world. Like there could be something that's really challenging, really feels like this, like you're in this pressure cooker to change how you're viewing things. It's like you can't ignore it anymore at this point. And it really does need to like be released, and you really do need to move on from whatever this is and change the situation and like alchemize it into something different. As we get into Thursday, I mean later on Wednesday and into Thursday, there's going to be more of that energy of this pressure to really like make some sort of change in what you're doing, especially as it relates to your money. This could be just reorganizing your budget, or making a big investment, or something you're going to be forced out of your comfort zone to, so that you do change the situation, and that it does happen. Or how do I want to say that, like you so that you get a result that is what you want, and that doesn't keep perpetuating the same pattern that has been frustrating and annoying you. Does that make sense? As we get into Thursday, the moon's going to harmonize with Venus again, kind of propelling you into this emotional shift around your inner world as it relates to like your security, your finances, your foundations, things like that. There's this big momentum to shift everything related to like what has been building this whole week. And then as we get into Friday, there could be a further emotional shift, kind of maybe sudden breakthrough or something around that of like in your perspective, in your mindset, related to all of that. Maybe this like sudden boost of creativity because you realize like, oh, I just need to do this in order to be inspired to make this amount of money or whatever. And it's like this aha moment. And then you're just like, it's like, oh, this was what I was waiting for the whole time kind of thing. We're also going to have Venus opposite Saturn in your 6th and 12th houses. So again, there's something you need to be disciplined with as it relates to like what grounds you, but also know that it's only going to be successful when you do it from the right mindset. So you need to like focus on your energy first and then do the things that you're called to do, instead of doing the things because, like, or example, if you're doing one thing to try and make money and you're like, wait, I'm doing that from scarcity. I actually need to get myself into a good feeling place and then do the things. And that will bring the money in. It's not going to just, does that make sense? That's this energy of like you're finally seeing things differently and like it's feeling more integrated and embodied, especially on Saturday as the moon is going to harmonize with the sun. There is this identity shift related to that. I mean, with Venus over the South Node happening for you, Libra, I feel like it was this big release of an old identity or version of yourself, like kind of clearing out the dust of like an old version of you, and it's all culminating this whole week, and it will kind of solidify over the weekend as we have these transits that are kind of just further integrate and embody these shifts you've been making. Does that make sense? And then I feel like by the end of the weekend, like later on Sunday, you're going to be feeling in a groove with it, and things are going to be happening in the way that you've been manifesting. So that's the week ahead for you, Libra. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Scorpio Rising, we start the week off with a full moon in your 6th house. There could be some manifestation or culmination of energy around what you're doing for work on a daily basis, or some change in your physical health, or your routine around that. Could be related to maybe like shadow work you've been doing, or subconscious belief systems, or something around that that's been coming up, like your perspective of life. Heavy on the belief system, especially as we get into Tuesday, and we have the moon moving over Chiron in your 6th house, maybe bringing up a trigger or a wound related to that, so you fully integrate and embody these changes in a way that's going to be more beneficial for you moving forward. With Mercury moving into your 1st house, it's kind of like this fog is lifting in your mindset, but also there could be something you're called to maybe change because of a challenge or a conflict with your home or your family. It kind of propels you into this new thing. Especially on Wednesday, there's going to be a lot of tension between what's going on emotionally in your relationships, your mental, how do I say that? I'm trying to like think of when Mercury was transiting my 1st house. I just felt like I was more able to speak my mind and things. So there might be something that's really pulling you to speak up for yourself in a way that maybe you've held back from within relationships, and what's going on in your home and your family, and like setting boundaries. I do feel like, though, you might bring that into your career, or the focus of the release of the tension of all of that is through your career in some way, whether it's like going out with coworkers or making a fun video if you do social media content, and just kind of like bringing this lightheartedness, this playfulness to what you create from the maybe heaviness that comes in other areas of your life. Does that make sense? Later on Wednesday, the moon is going to be opposite Mars in your 1st house. There could be, again, this kind of like tension between what's going on emotionally in your relationships and what's going on with you that you're needing to maybe take action on. This could be like a blow up kind of thing, and it's like maybe you needed to finally give that person a piece of your mind, but it is going to feel uncomfortable. And yeah, I would just pick your battles maybe, or like take space if you need, if you don't have blow up on the person. Uh, but then later on Thursday, it feels like there's harmony between what's going on emotionally in your relationships and related to your long-term goals and visions, and maybe what's changing about that. And you're getting more clarity about how you want to move forward in terms of like your structures and your systems, and maybe with finances too. Amplifies into Friday as the moon moves over Uranus in your 8th house. There could be a breakthrough around money, or if you've been trying to get a loan for something, or pay off debt or taxes or something, there could be like an aha moment related to that. Maybe also related to a move or your home, your family in some way. I do feel like whatever's happened this week, it was like a big pent up thing that needed to be released. And then once it is released, you have space for the new to come in, or the new ideas or clarity or whatever. However specifically it relates to you. I do feel like there's going to be this aha moment of like, oh, okay, here's what I'm doing. Here's how to move forward with it. But as we get into the weekend, there could also be just some more emotional challenges around that, that you're going to have to maybe figure out how to kind of work through or overcome. But again, like I've been saying for weeks, I feel like there are these challenges, there are these conflicts, but when we focus on what is positive, what we have to be grateful for, like that's when we're gonna see everything change in the way that we need to and really be aligned with the unconventional and be aligned with like what is coming in to support us, even if it's not what we had maybe thought for ourselves or planned for ourselves to take place. Like, does that make sense? It's kind of like there are miracles, there are things that are happening for you when you see it that way. Instead of like trying to make your way the way, it's like, no, there's something better for you and it's happening for your highest good, everything that is transpiring. So just have faith that it's all coming together, and you're being supported no matter what. And I think there will be this realization of that over the weekend, especially on Sunday for you, Scorpio. So that's the week ahead. Let me know how it resonates, and I'll see you next week. Sagittarius Rising, we start the week off with a full moon in Aries in your 5th house. This could be some manifestation of a creative project, or maybe romance or dating, or just like something you're doing, something you're creating that feels like like the birth of it is happening or the realization of it is happening. And you maybe get clarity about how to go forward with it or how to do it in a way that maybe you didn't know you didn't have answers around before. It kind of feels like there's a culmination of some creative passion project pursuit. Also on Monday, Mercury moves into your 12th house, so there could be this need to maybe like go within and get the answers there instead of like trying to like maybe logic it. It's like, okay, actually I'm going to surrender to the divine. I'm going to go into meditation and I'm going to like ask for the answers on how to go about this or how to move forward with this thing. On Tuesday, there could be something about that maybe triggers you emotionally, or something with dating, or Tuesday is just an emotionally triggering day as the moon moves over Chiron. And also we're going to have Mercury squaring Pluto. There could be something in your day to day that maybe triggers you, a conversation you have to have with somebody, or somewhere you go that kind of just maybe things feel really chaotic, and like you running errands, or there's traffic, or there's something that's like kind of maybe triggers like anger. But also again, it's like, okay, that maybe needed to come up for a reason, and I do feel like it's going to be some type of fuel for you to create something from it. On Wednesday, that kind of amplifies as the moon moves into your 6th house. I mean, you're going to be emotionally focused on work, but it could add tension to what's going on in your subconscious, and then what's going on in your day-to-day errands or your belief systems, your communication. So the message on Wednesday is kind of to like release this tension through doing something that feels fun to you. Maybe this is like planning a long distance trip or taking a kind of road trip somewhere, to release the friction or the challenging energy and not get swept up by it. As we get into Wednesday into Thursday, the moon is going to be opposite Mars, could also add tension to what's going on in your subconscious and kind of trigger this change, maybe this uncomfortable change in your belief systems or in your inner world in some way. And then as we get later into Thursday, the moon's going to harmonize with Venus in your 10th house. You could bring whatever came up into your career. Maybe you get this realization through whatever has triggered you this week. You're getting these realizations of like, okay, I want to actually teach this to people, or I actually want to be doing this for work, or I want to be helping people with this, and maybe bringing it into what you're doing in your work and your career in some way through all of these realizations. Especially as we get into Friday and the moon moves over Uranus in your 7th house, there could be this sudden kind of breakthrough change with your relationships and maybe your communication too, how you're sharing yourself, how you're sharing ideas. There's an aha moment, there's an emotional sudden breakthrough that maybe you didn't expect, that just kind of all clicks into place. And then it feels like over the weekend there's this integration that happens because of that. Although later on Saturday, there could be some challenges again with what's going on in your relationships, and maybe something about your home or your career in some way too, maybe challenging you or propelling you into an identity shift, maybe to see yourself differently than you have been, to step into this new thing that's emerging, and you're getting clarity around how you want to do it and go about it. And then it feels like on Sunday, there's this integration, there's this emotional like epiphany maybe of like how to move forward and kind of put all these pieces into the puzzle. So that is the week ahead for you, Sagittarius. So let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Capricorn Rising, we start the week off with the full moon in your 4th house. This could be some culmination of something that's going on with your home or your family life in some way. There could be a realization around your home or a living situation that maybe you've been struggling to get clarity around, maybe even for the last 6 months. And you set an intention 6 months ago around what you want in your home or a change you want to make there. And it's kind of culminating with this full moon late on Monday. Mercury is in your 11th house now, so I do feel like this could be a really social time for you, but it also feels like you're pulled between your social life and your job or how you're making money in some way too. But maybe there's a way you could figure out how to kind of make them all work together. But as we get into Tuesday, that kind of amplifies. Maybe there's a challenging conversation you have to have with somebody that doesn't feel comfortable, maybe around money. And it could really trigger something about childhood stuff or what's your living situation or family situation in some way. There could be an emotional wound or trigger that comes up around that through this conversation that you have to have. As we get into Wednesday, early on Wednesday, the moon is going to be challenging Mercury and Pluto. So again, there could be this emotional kind of tension or conflict with money, what's going on in maybe your friend group, your community, maybe also with your creativity. It might feel like you have to really get out of your comfort zone to do something in order to have the change you want to see with money or with whatever is going on in your resources. It also feels like there's a need to focus on doing something that kind of lightens the energy from all of the heaviness that you might experience early on Wednesday. Then as we get into Thursday, the moon is going to harmonize with Venus in your 9th house. There could be related to that, like how you shifted this energy or what you did. Maybe you I don't know, put on a good playlist and instead of getting bogged down by the frustration, you allowed yourself to shift the energy and by listening to good music and getting yourself in a good vibe. And there's this sudden kind of realization around your perspective of life and your mindset, maybe related to your belief systems as well, and what is needed to really change and evolve there so that they are aligned with and how you're viewing life and what you're believing about life to be true for you is aligned with where you're moving forward and your long-term goals and visions. There could further be an emotional shift around that or breakthrough around that on Friday as the moon moves over Uranus into your 6th house, maybe related to what you're doing for money or for work. There could be this new idea that turns out to be really lucrative for you that just kind of comes on a whim. And it's like all the challenges led to it. All of the conflict that you've experienced maybe for weeks now has kind of led to this epiphany of oh, this is how I'm going to go about what I want to do. And this actually could bring in a lot of money for me and be really joyful for me to share with people or to do. As we get into Saturday and over the weekend, again, there's more of these epiphanies around your work, around your career, around what you're doing there. But it could also on Saturday challenge some belief systems. Again, if there's this thing you want to do, but it's nothing you've ever done before, and you're questioning, okay, am I qualified? Blah, 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 blah. Personal experience is more qualifying than anything, is my belief. So it really kind of challenges you to look at that inner critic or those inner beliefs that maybe are blocking you from having this harmony with this thing that you want to do and create and share. But as we get into Sunday, I feel like there's going to be a positive emotional shift around that. Maybe because you went to your journal or you talked to your therapist about it or talked to a friend about it and did the work to shift it. And that could bring even further breakthroughs on how to go about doing it and moving forward with it. So that's the week ahead for you, Capricorn. Let me know how that resonates, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Aquarius Rising, we start the week off the full moon in your 3rd house of day-to-day errands, of your communication, of how you're sharing yourself and your ideas. So there could be this manifestation around all of that, this new beginning that happens with maybe where you're going on a daily basis or who you're talking to or how you're sharing yourself and your ideas, maybe related to the change in identity you've been experiencing as well. Also on Monday, Mercury moves into your 10th house. So you are really a lot more focused at the start of this week with sharing yourself, with sharing your ideas, with talking about things. more so than maybe you have been. But that could also challenge your identity. It could challenge a transformation in your identity and a change of like you. On Tuesday, we have the moon moving over Chiron in your third house. This could really trigger, bring up a wound around your communication or your ideas, your belief system. Maybe this imposter syndrome thing comes up for you to really look at and work through so that it doesn't keep perpetuating. And you can really step into this maybe new role that you were wanting to step into. As we get into Wednesday, the moon moves into your fourth house. It's going to be opposite Mercury in your 10th and square Pluto in your first. Again, more of this energy around being propelled into some sort of identity shift related to how you're sharing yourself and your ideas with the world and what you're communicating to be known as, or what's changing about you and your reputation and your career. There could be more tension around that later on Wednesday, as the moon is going to be opposite Mars. It could come through your home or your family life, like you're kind of pulled in two directions of like taking action in your career in some way, and then what's going on with home or family. But it does feel like something's going to call you out of your comfort zone to kind of take action in a way that's going to bring that into balance, if that makes sense. Then as we get into Thursday, there could be more clarity around what's going on in your inner world, in your home or with family. Maybe what big release happened in your resources or with debt, with taxes. It's kind of like this big recalibration of how you're viewing resources and cleaning up anything that has maybe been left on the back burner or brushed underneath the rug. It's like you can't ignore it anymore. And on Thursday, there's this emotional momentum, maybe from your home or from your family life, to kind of do something about it and to kind of make the changes that you've been realizing you need to make. Do you think there's going to be breakthroughs around all of that, maybe related to creativity or a passion project or romance, dating, children, as it applies, as the moon moves over Uranus early on Friday and harmonizes with Pluto? It could really support this identity shift that's been building for you and that's been culminating as well. Friday into Saturday, the moon is going to harmonize with the sun, so there could be this big illumination or emotional shift around your mindset, around, again, your communication or your belief systems, what's going on in your inner world. It feels like there's a lot of shifts around like the fundamentals of your subconscious, and like it's related to this identity shift. It's related to what you're doing in work that's changed or that you want to change or move in this new direction with career and with how you're making money. It kind of feels like there's this pressure to change it and do something different about it over the weekend. So that is the week ahead for you, Aquarius. Let me know how that resonates, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Pisces Rising. We start the week off with the full moon in Aries in your second house. This could be some positive manifestation around money or some realization about what you're doing for money. There could be an influx of money coming in. It depends on what is going on for you personally and what you set intentions around with money 6 months ago. It's going to all kind of come up for you to look at so you can maybe let go of anything residually that's blocking this manifestation from coming in. Because full moons are a culmination of a certain energy. So it's like there's something culminating, something big around a new beginning you've had with money and been stepping into this whole year, probably. Then as we get into Tuesday, the moon's going to move over Chiron. There could be something that triggers you about money, maybe related to what came up. Kind of like, an example would be if you receive some lump sum of money randomly, and then it's like, oh, this is what I was manifesting, but also I don't want to like spend all of it and then it's gone. So what do I actually do with this money? And it's bringing up like deeper wounds around it and your relationship with money. Also, Mercury is in your 9th house now, so no surprise, you're being asked to really look at your mindset around things and transform any residual subconscious gunk that's just not serving you. Maybe that came through people in your life over this weekend. Maybe you're realizing some people you have around you just aren't beneficial for where you're headed and how you're stepping into a new version of yourself. And you're getting more clarity on what it's going to look like to change that. And to put yourself around people who are actually going to support you in making these positive changes to yourself and everything else in your life. There could be something on Wednesday that, adds tension to this and kind of pulls you out of your comfort zone to change something about your communication, your mindset, where you're going on a daily basis, maybe even what you're doing on a daily basis to like feed your mindset. Um, this has been showing up for me as like I'm not listening to music anymore. That's like not beneficial. I'm instead like listening to positive YouTube videos. So this is kind of that energy of like, maybe you just need to listen to more positive mindset stuff if you don't have people around you that speak the language of like inspiration, positivity, or whatever it is. And you're realizing like there's something that's going to kind of propel you into doing something differently so that you have support in making these changes. As we get into Thursday, there's more energy around that. The moon is going to harmonize with Venus in your seventh house. Again, it's like if you can't put yourself around people who support you in these changes, then how can you get it through the internet? How can you get it through, the online space? And just kind of shift some of your daily habits to make that happen. Later on Thursday, there could be a breakthrough or a sudden realization around that, clarity around that, maybe related to your home, or real estate or your family life in some way as well, and like kind of what's going on in your inner world. There's a lot going on for you, Pisces, like at a subconscious level and an external level, like with your outside world, but also a lot of it is like your inner world is changing, and there could be some breakthrough on Thursday that happens around that kind of supports these shifts that you're making, or stepping into more and more. And further on Friday, as the moon's going to harmonize with the sun in your eighth house, this can be related to shared resources or debt, taxes, like financial stuff. There could be some positive momentum there, maybe related to your home or something like that. But it also feels like on Friday and into the weekend, there's this push and pull between this new version of yourself you're stepping into. Maybe you've really had to mature in a lot of ways, through what's been coming up for you, and like maybe your relationships could feel like a push and pull between this new version of you and your relationships. Again, it's really like you're recalibrating who's around you and who you're spending time with, um, and stepping into a new version of yourself due to all of that. On Saturday, that can be further brought up is maybe through your home or through your family, as the moon is going to challenge Saturn and Venus. The release of that though is through your career. So maybe you do something really fun in your career, or you make a fun video, or if you do social media stuff, or maybe you plan to go somewhere. That's a long distance, maybe travel trip, to kind of release any tension or challenges that are coming up. It's like, okay, what can you focus on that's fun, that's going to bring you a sense of like exploration or adventure, instead of focusing on and getting like bogged down by the challenges and the conflict is the energy. But I do feel like on Sunday that there's going to be an emotional shift around that, as the moon moves into Cancer. You could get clarity on all of this and the culmination of it, and further stepping into this new version of yourself, on Sunday. So that's what we have for you, Pisces. Let me know how that resonates, and I'll see you next week. All right, y'all. That is the update for this week. Let me know how it resonates with you. I'm gonna read y'all's comments. Hey, Elle. So grateful for you consistently showing up and sharing your gift. Oh, thank you. Okay, rad. Loved your Venus South Node video. Yes. This life is a video game we're in is all about. Wait, this life video game we're in is all about the mindset shift. Yeah, no, for sure. Especially right now with Mercury and Scorpio. We're about to be. It's not there yet, but it will be tomorrow. How can you alchemize your mindset to alchemize your life? That is the energy. And with that, I leave you all. Enjoy the week. Let me know how your horoscope comes